One of the oldest cliche sayings that I remember hearing when I was young is that seeing is believing. Seeing is believing. What I'm seeing right now is the backyard, and I guess when I see it, I believe it's there. It certainly seems to be there. I seem to be here walking in it, on the ground. So seeing is believing. Do you think that's true? That what you see, then you believe it because you see it? What about when a magician does a trick and we think what we see, we believe what we're seeing, but then we know it's an illusion? And I know many spiritual teachers and writings throughout history have concluded that life in a way is an illusion. Not even in a way, it is really an illusion. We experience things as material. Knock on wood, that seems solid, seems like a fence. I see it, I believe it is a fence. So it is. That's locked into my mind now that there's a fence in my backyard. But we know that that fence is made up of wood, which is made of molecules, is composed of atoms, that the atoms are over 99% space. And space is not solid, but yet that fence appears solid. So there's a contradiction going on there. Is that fence really an illusion? In one sense of the word, maybe it is. But it appears real in my reality, my form of reality and perception. And I think most people out here would probably have the same experience I did if they knocked on it, that it's real. But how much in our life, in my life, I ask myself, is real, that I believe is real? An awful lot of it likely is not what I think it is, what I believe it is. So then I've heard the phrase turned around and posed this idea that not seeing is believing, but believing is seeing. Beliefs are constructs in our mind and our mental process. Believing is, and literally in a true sense of the word, is having faith. Having faith in something, an idea, a concept, a mental construct that this fence, again, is wood, because I believe that wood is real and wood is solid and it's hard and it makes a sound when you knock on it. Then when I knock on it, it's what I see, or I hear, actually, see and hear. So believing is seeing and or hearing. Because many of us, those are our two primary senses to gather information, seeing and hearing. Correct? I think you'd agree. Taste can play into it, smell for sure. Kinesthetic, touch, and even our sixth sense, our intuition, all factors as well to know things, to learn things. But I was thinking today about how often it is we can formulate a new belief in our mind simply by thinking. Descartes famously, I think, therefore I am. Not only did he come up with that idea, but he had to think about it first. He came about that idea thinking. And some people now reverse that and say, no, I am, therefore I think. I am has become more and more in spiritual terms and a way of affirming our existence, our reality, our belief that we are physically here in this three-dimensional world. And a lot of us want to kind of raise our consciousness to a higher vibration, to 4D and 5D, which it doesn't mean you're going to another dimension. You know, you're leaving this physical world necessarily, but you could, you know, within your mind, within the province of the mind, according to John C. Lilly, within the province of the mind, what one believes to be true It either is true or it will become true within the province of the mind. Or it will become true within certain limits. I'm sorry, let me correct that. It will become true within certain limits to be found experimentally and experientially. And that these limits are simply further beliefs to be transcended. So I think to myself today, making progress in life is transcending limiting beliefs. Have you heard the idea, argue for your limitations and they are yours? I love that cliche because it's so true. I've argued for my limitations a lot in my life. And I know many people around me that have done the very same thing. You suggest them maybe pushing beyond their limiting beliefs and they, oh, no, I believe it's this way and that way. You know, they told me it was this way, or I learned it was this way, or even my experience maybe tells me it's this way. And yet you persuade them, well, could you consider a possibility of maybe going beyond that belief? That maybe there's more to it than that you could achieve something beyond what your scope of imagination is telling you right now. Oh, no. I believe it's I can't do that. So I say, okay, argue for your limitations, they're yours. You set the boundary, the box that you want to be in, it's yours. Nobody can free you from that. And I think this is a state that we're in the world today. Humanity has enslaved itself, imprisoned itself. And it's in what it considers to be a kind of a comfortable prison, I guess. You know, there are prisoners who actually want to stay in prison. So a lot of them, when they get out after maybe 20, 30 years of incarceration, they can't cope in the outside world anymore. They want a famous movie, the Shawshank Redemption. There's a character in the film that does that. He gets out, you know, Morgan Freeman, he gets out and he almost wants to go back in. And there's another fellow in there that does the same thing and he can't. So I think today that I had a thought that I'm formulating a new belief. Now, how much that belief will be incorporated now into my life and I'll act on it and practice it, that's another matter. But it's a new belief I came up with just out of the blue. So where did it come from? You tell me. I was just reading online after seeing the angel number. I consider these angel numbers 444, and they can be sequential, 1 2 3 4 1234, or 432 p.m. a.m., or you can see them anywhere. And license plates, addresses, receipts, you know, they're out there. Numbers are all over in the world. We see them all the time. But I saw this today, 444 on my clock. I looked it up, and I've looked it up many times. Today I looked it up again, and I stopped on the first meaning, according to the guide online that does that sort of thing. And it said, your angel guides are guiding you. They're supporting you. And I thought, well, I've considered that before, and I have a certain belief about that now that I didn't used to have. Years ago, I used to dismiss the idea of angels as just silly. I changed that belief, discarded the old one and incorporated a new one. Now I believe they're real. Because I believe that, my experience has changed. My experience of my life has changed. And that I feel uncannily, I get support sometimes. I get guidance. I get information. And I don't think it's necessarily just coming out of my little noodle brain here that's thinking these things up. I believe the brain, like Nikola Tesla said, it's like a radio receiver, television receiver or something. And it's consciousness, and we have consciousness. We experience consciousness, I should say. We don't have it, but we experience it because we are consciousness embodied in human form. And so I pick up these ideas. Sometimes they just come to me. David Lynch talks about it, calls it catching the big fish. That's why he promotes transcendental meditation. But I think I meditated today, and that might be why I caught a fish. Maybe it's a big one. I think it is. Could be. So the idea and the belief I'll share with you as I close out this little talk is that when we speak, there's a certain process going on in our mind as to what words we're going to use to express ourselves, to convey a communication, a message, a thought, an idea, information. Whatever the intent of the communication is verbally when we speak, our brain has to formulate the words somehow, magically, not magically, but chemically, biologically, physically, in the brain chemistry, the circuits, the neurons fire, and we choose certain words that come out of our memory that we have learned in our lifetime. And so I recognize that I'm a person that oftentimes throughout my entire life since I learned how to speak, probably more so in adulthood, I'm a fast talker, and even sometimes a bit of a loud talker, a loud, fast talker. And if you go back and listen to some of my other YouTube videos, you'll see a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them, I talk loud and fast and furious, you might say. And I've been learning over the last couple of years, and with intention, by the way, to remedy that and change that and alter that. And I'm going to stop and blow my nose here because I have a little sinus drainage being out here in the cool weather. So I got this idea today that I think is going to be a new belief for me, especially if I act on it, practice it, experience it. And that is that when I speak, if I'm using a lot of words that I know I can come up with very quickly to say something, chances are good, just like driving a car fast, there's more of a likelihood to miss some of the scenery, not be able to take it all in, and maybe even have an accident. Maybe for something to go wrong. And when I talk fast and loud, there's a certain energy, an energized feeling of empowerment maybe that I get from doing that I feel more like I'm conveying my message better by talking and saying more words, feeling the need to say more words to get across a message of some kind. Simply because I can, just like you would drive a fast car simply because it can go fast. Not because it should go fast, but because it can. And a lot of times we step on the accelerator and we go 100 miles an hour. And I've done that like a lot of you. Not often, thank goodness, but a few times. And so I'm thinking to myself today with this new idea, if I slow down and I'm more careful, more mindful, and hopefully the idea is not to be super self-conscious about it, because then you get into an area, I think, when you're self-conscious that it almost becomes an inhibition, prevents you from being spontaneous and creative, imaginative. And I don't want to do that. What I want to do is find that happy medium. David Lynch would do it like this. I love his expressions with his hands. I want to find that balance where I'm not radically speaking at a hyper pace, but not so slow as to be monotonous and boring and put any potential listener to sleep, but to allow the listener, whoever it might be, whether it's you out there or a person I'm with in person, to absorb my communication, hear it, and then be able to respond to it in any appropriate manner they choose. As contrasted to this fast talking style, which, number one, I can make more mistakes if I'm talking loud and fast. The words are coming out, the syntax, grammar may be close to correct, but the message now is getting lost and blurred because there's too much speed, too much intensity, too much energy. And also, the listener can't take it all in. Just like the passenger in the car, if you're going 200 miles an hour, can't take in the scenery as easily. You're going too fast. So it reminds me of the song by Simon and Garfunkel, the 59th Street Bridge song, I believe it's called. Slow down, you move too fast. You gotta make the morning last, or the afternoon, or the evening.